Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about Arbor Adventures. And at this point, we are in Arbor Adventures at the point where Dolos, with his brother Farrowin, Grax, and Dragonborn fighter, so Sun Elf Rogue Assassin Dolos, with his Sun Elf brother Farrowin, who has rejected the um, the traditional assassin training of his family. Then Dragonborn fighter, ally to Dolos, Parak, half elf ranger, um, ally to Dolos, are all together, and they have pursued Mindartis to Riatheme Island. So Riatheme Island is the actual island on Faerun. It's northwest of the Moon Isles, which are very famous. And so they've pursued Mindartis here, and Mindartis is a white dragonborn fighter who sold Oe, the direwolf of Dolos, to Dolos. And then he had gone off on this quest to get the bracers of 100 warriors. And what this is it's a single magic item. A leader would put this on, and then they pull bracers off of themselves, and they give it to 100 warriors, and those warriors cannot be damaged by any non-magical weapon. So like this one magic item is almost certainly guaranteed to end the dwarf miner human woodcutter war in Phandalin, and Mindartis intends to give the bracer of 100 warriors to give it directly to Demeth, who is the leader of the human woodcutters, right? So the woodcutters are going to win, right? So now at this point, so basically, Dolos pursues Mindartis to Ruatheme, and then ascends this 600-foot mountain and gets the treasure, and finds a treasure cave with the bracers of 100 warriors and other treasures, right? So Dolos ascends the mountain, leaves Parak and Grax and Farrowin all at the base of the mountain, 600 feet up, reunites with Mindartis and says, "Hey, I'm going to help you get the bracers of 100 men back to Phandalin," and then the two of them take all the treasure they found in this cave up on this Ruatheme mountain and successfully get it all to the ground. And then I said to Dolos, "Okay, you need to now get down the mountain, right?" And he had used a magical ability, actually a trained ability from his, it was a magical ability from his skull ring, right? We're playing Crown and Skull, and he has a skull ring with all these evil aligned abilities, right? Now, at this point, so, and Scurry allows him to relocate himself anywhere within a bow shot, right? And so he was able to get up 600 feet. Now that's a long bow shot. It's not his bow shot, but it's Parak's bow shot, right? Who's his ally, and there are good reasons to have allies, right? So at this point, I said to Dolos, "You need to go down the mountain, and this is going to be very difficult because you don't have any climbing skills. You have, marginal athletic skills, and actually, I was like, you actually have pretty good athletics skill. Actually, he does have athletics 15, but the reality is, if you fail this, it's a 600-foot drop. You die, right? Even if you were to fall from 100 feet, you would die, right? And that's Crown and Skull. You would live through that in Dungeons and Dragons, but Crown and Skull is a little more deadly, right? Like, you have to think about keeping yourself alive, right? Carefully. You still have to think about keeping yourself alive in 5th edition too, but it's a little easier to die in Crown and Skull. So I was like, so who's going first? Is Mindartis going down the mountain first, or are you going down the mountain first? And he's like, you know what? Mindartis can go. So Mindartis fails the roll. He had gotten down 300 feet, and then at 300 feet, he falls. And he falls 300 feet to his death. Now, the reason he fell was he failed his roll, right? And the reason that I had Mindartis roll was because this is, it's incredibly dangerous. They had gone all this way for treasure. The treasure logically would have been buried in, hidden in a very, very dangerous place. And this was a big deal, right? And so as soon as we do this, right, he dies, right? And this was the most shocking role outcome from the entire game. And the reason why is Mindartis was growing as a non-player character. It would have really helped if Mindartis and Dolos had worked together to get back to Phandalin. And there was a good, strong tie to tie Dolos, who's on the fence about whether to help the dwarves or the woodcutters, because neither one of them has done anything bad to him. They've both done terrible things to each other, but neither one of them has treated him poorly in any way. And so he is genuinely allied to these two groups, right? And so he doesn't like this war, but he's also standing in the middle of the fence, right? And that is a good way to get hurt. No two ways about it. Like, it's not good. Being neutral is not good, right? Like you're going to get hurt eventually, badly, right? And so So Mindartis's death is shocking. It was the most shocking thing that has happened in the campaign, and so far. And I will say this, like, this is Dungeons and Dragons, right? And this is why Dungeons and Dragons stories are so important. Any author would have just written what they wanted, right? And any Dragon Master could have, and actually any screenwriter, right? Any video game person. This is why Dungeons and Dragons is the best form of narrative. It is the only form of narrative that shocks the author, right? And the authors are the person who's receiving the story. Dragon Masters Dragon Masters have a distinct, like a very real, distinct need, right? Like, it's really powerful. Like, they have a very distinct input into the narrative. Like any other story, any other play, any other video game, any other novel, the reader would just experience this. They wouldn't be part of it, right? And the author cannot be genuinely surprised in these other narratives. It's the most powerful form of narrative ever, and it really took this entire campaign in a different direction. So Mindartis dies, right? And then Dolos forgets, like, Dolos has been trying to use magic less, right? And to learn with his other abilities. But he's like, he just watched a dude die because he failed the roll. And he's like, I'm not going to fail that roll, right? So, like, and he uses scurry to get back down. He uses magic again to get back down, which he didn't want to do as a character. It was one of the most fascinating moments in the entire campaign. I absolutely loved it. And so that is this part of that session for Arbor Adventures. Thank you for letting me share it with you. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on the best parts of Arbor Adventure. The important parts when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.